Manchester United now lining up talks with Thomas Tuchel, the guy they wanted in the summer to replace Ten Hag, and apparently they're going back in for him now because he will be available immediately. Is that a suggestion that Ten Hag could be sacked? We'll talk about Thomas Tuchel and what it adds to United, but we also want to get into updates from David Ornstein on Ten Hag's future, INEOS' stance, what he knows about other manager candidates, and more. David Ornstein did say one interesting thing as well, that FFP will not affect Manchester United when it comes to sacking the manager. So financially, United can afford to sack Ten Hag, but I think considering they could have sacked him in the summer, they probably don't want to sack him 6 games into the season after spending so much money on him and bringing in the likes of Ruud van Nistelrooy. We will dive into that. It was also said by Fabrizio Romano as some updates on Manchester United and how they're feeling about Andre Onana and other signings, and Ten Hag speaks about his rotation plans. Hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to your 10-minute Manchester United news roundup show. Please do go ahead and hit that like button. Let's go over 500 likes, and of course subscribe down below if you're new. So let's dive into this story. So this came out from Samuel Luckhurst. Manchester United are lining up Thomas Tuchel as a potential replacement for Erik Ten Hag. United admire other candidates who are already attached to the club, and the attraction of Tuchel is that he's immediately attainable. Erik Ten Hag expects to hold discussions with Manchester United in the coming days. So, what we know, and I'm going to give you context from things that was discussed in yesterday's live show, if you didn't watch that, and things that we discussed in the last week. Ratcliffe likes Thomas Tuchel. If Ratcliffe had it his way, we would have sacked Ten Hag and signed Thomas Tuchel in the summer. That's what he wanted to happen. We tried to do that. It didn't happen. Tuchel rejected us because of, I think he didn't like the power that he was going to have. But we know that Ratcliffe wants Ten Hag sacked. He still wants Ten Hag sacked. But Ashworth and Barada are reluctant to sack Ten Hag so early, hoping he can turn it around. They want to give him time. They're less interested in sacking Ten Hag. Now, What we also do know is there is a meeting today between all of the INEOS people, so, Ratcliffe, Barada, Ashworth, and then there's a meeting tomorrow with Joel Glazer. Now, the meeting tomorrow with Joel Glazer has been scheduled for a while, but it's expected the manager situation will come up in that. But there is a meeting today which could be seen as crisis talks around the manager, and there's a feeling that Ten Hag is going to have talks with the hierarchy in the coming days. And if he is going to be sacked, he's going to be sacked in this international break. I'm not sure if he will be, to be honest. I think he stays in this international break. But we'll have to wait and see, because we know that Jim Ratcliffe's sort of fed up. This is what I've said on Thomas Tuchel, because, look, I've got concerns about Thomas Tuchel. I think he's a short-term manager. He wouldn't be in my top 2 people to take the job. But I do think, there is a good manager in Thomas Tuchel that could get a tune out of this team that's playing awfully. Tuchel's footballing achievements: he has the best win percentage and points per game of any manager in Liga history. He won the domestic quadruple at PSG despite key player injuries. PSG were on track for a league points tally before COVID ended the season early. He achieved 78 points in Bundesliga with Borussia Dortmund, the most since their title-winning campaign in the 11-12 season. He has the highest win percentage of any Dortmund coach that's been there for at least a year. He was sacked from PSG and won the UCL with Chelsea a few months later, beating the likes of Real Madrid and Man City. He arguably outplayed Bayern in the UCL final with PSG the season before, but he didn't win the silverware, but I think PSG were a better team. Chelsea's 4th best points tally in the last 10 years was achieved under Tuchel. In 2 of the 3 other seasons, they had won the league, and Chelsea haven't won the league in a while. Chelsea were only 3 points off 4th when Tuchel was sacked, and when Tuchel was sacked, they then ended with Chelsea in 12th place, 27 points off 4th. And then he managed to decline in Bayern's side that obviously company's getting a tune out of, but there's been some big backing with Elise and stuff. He managed the Bayern side that's been on decline for the last few years, and the Bayern fans petitioned to keep him there. So it tells you a lot about Tuchel. Now, I think there's concerns around Tuchel. I still think he's a little old school, and maybe United want a modern manager. But I think with the squad we have, when it comes to getting out of the tune out of the squad we have, Tuchel could be the guy that maybe gets these players playing all right. But let's talk less about Tuchel and let's talk more about the facts and what David Ornstein said and what we know on the manager situation. So the potential that this is Erik Ten Hag's last game in charge was asked to David Ornstein last night. He said it could be, of course, but no decision to sack him yet. And the feeling from the conversations you get around on Trafford is all remains calm. He's saying that could be Erik Ten Hag's last game, but there's nothing to indicate that for sure. He says they do want to continue because they've clearly invested in him, and rumours that he's lost the dressing room are not accurate, but the tension is growing and attention's on him. And I think that's the situation. Ratcliffe wants him gone, but because we've invested in him. I think Ashworth and Barada are reluctant to sack him early because of the investment that's gone into him, and they wanted to work on how costly it's going to be to sack him. I think the question that Ashworth and Barada will be thinking is, if it's been crap for 18 months, if we give him 5-6 more games, is he going to find something in these 5-6 more games to turn it around, or are we just delaying the inevitable? It's probably the big question that Ashworth and Barada will be asking. But it was said by Ornstein that the idea that Man United cannot afford to sack Ten Hag due to FFP is not true. It will be expensive, but it's doable if it gets to that point, but they hope it does not. So we can afford to sack him. He was then asked about other candidates. He said, I'm not aware of them speaking to other candidates like they did over the summer, and it would be negligent of them, like any other club, to speak to other candidates if a change were to occur. But I don't get the feeling that we're at that point just yet. He's saying they've not spoken to other candidates because he doesn't think that we're at that point to sack Ten Hag yet, which is a suggestion that maybe Ten Hag is going to be given a few more games. He said, and if a change was made, I'd be uncomfortable to say that because Ten Hag is still in the position who the candidates could be. So Ornstein didn't reveal too much there. Now, what he did reveal a lot on was in terms of the links and when he was asked about specific things. Reports that Ruud van Nistelrooy is Manchester United's appointment in case Ten Hag goes is not true. He was Erik Ten Hag's appointment, so there may be some loyalty issues. So Erik Ten Hag agreed to bring Ruud van Nistelrooy, and he wasn't brought in case they had to sack Ten Hag. He was brought in because, one, in case they have to sack Ten Hag, maybe it's a possibility, but he was brought in because he's a good coach and he could work with Erik Ten Hag. He was Erik Ten Hag's appointment. Gareth Southgate was not a contender for the United job in the summer, and I've got no information to suggest there's a change in that stance. I wouldn't expect him to be head coach of United for the foreseeable future. Again, confirms Ornstein, Whitwell, Romano, every tier 1 source is saying we're not interested in Gareth Southgate. We've never been interested in Gareth Southgate. But you get a couple of tier 2 sources saying we're interested in Gareth Southgate, and everyone loses their mind. I got told back in March that we will not go for Gareth Southgate. I got told back in April we will not go for Gareth Southgate. We're not interested in him. We're only being linked to Gareth Southgate because of his relationship with Ashworth and Brailsford, and people that know nothing that need a report, and they're going to use United for clicks, so they're going to make up something. Or we could make up Southgate to United because of his relationship with Ashworth. It's tier 2 journalists looking to make money out of United. We're not interested in Southgate. Inzaghi is another one we've been linked to a lot lately, but David Ornstein has shut down these Inzaghi links, saying Inzaghi was slightly surprised by reports saying he was offered the Manchester United job. He doesn't even speak English. There was obviously those reports saying we'd offered him the job, and if we had offered him the job, that would have been crazy, but he doesn't speak English, and considering he's really happy at Inter, I cannot see him wanting to come to United anyway. What else was said on the manager situation was that Erik Ten Hag's position as Manchester United manager is still up for discussion at a meeting between the club's hierarchy tomorrow. So that was said last night. So there's going to be a meeting today. There's going to be a meeting today, and there's going to be a meeting tomorrow. There's going to be discussions around Erik Ten Hag's future, and there are suggestions from the Disco Mirror that there's going to be an emergency meeting with Ten Hag. So if he is sacked, he's going to be in the next couple of days. I think if he's still here this time next week, he's safe. That's the way I see it. I saw this from Henry, and I wanted to ask you guys, do you think Henry's right? Manchester United and Ten Hag are obviously locked in a loveless relationship going nowhere. At some point, they have to part. His tactics, recruitment, game management, and public utterances, can't say that, are all unconvincing. He would have already gone at a club with less patient fans. United match-going fan base have been exemplary in their support for the manager so far. Yet there also has to be understanding of the recency on injuries. When Ten Hag finally leaves, some players need to acknowledge they could have done more, given more. If only every player had the professionalism, commitment to the cause, and willingness to take responsibility of Johnny Evans. Evans has been a true leader on and off the pitch. When Ten Hag does go, Ashworth and INEOS have to change the culture shaped by their Glazers. United should be a football club with a mega store attached, not the other way round. And I think he's absolutely correct in the sense of we have to be a football club with a mega store attached, not the other way around. We need to change the culture. But is he right about Man United and Ten Hag being in a loveless relationship? Because I want Ten Hag to make it work at United. I just can't be bothered to sack another manager. I know the culture's a problem. I know the players aren't good enough. But it feels like we've been crap for 18 months. If we give him 6 more games, is it just going to be a crap 6 more games and are we just delaying the inevitable? Or is he going to find something and actually change it up? Because I want Ten Hag to succeed. I know there's issues with the players, but they're mostly his players now. And, we're not having the injuries. And it just feels like, are we delaying the inevitable? Now, interestingly, talking of players being on the bench, he had 350 million of his signings on the bench. He said De Ligt and Martinez have played a lot, so to manage the workload, they were on the bench. He thinks it was the right choice. He's talking about rotation. At the end of the day, it paid off because Maguire and Evans had a really good game, and De Ligt and Martinez were really poor versus Porter. But at the end of the day, you brought in De Ligt and Martinez to be your centre-back pairing, and you've not you've not really gone with it. You know, I don't know, maybe he was resting them, but I think in a must-win game when his job's on the line versus Villa, it says to me he lost the plot a little bit as well. One signing that's had a much better season so far this year is Onana, and it was said the Manchester United coaching staff are very happy with Andre Onana's development in the second season joining from Inter, so that is a positive there. But guys, I'm intrigued to know your thoughts on the situation. Is he going to be sacked? Is he not going to be sacked? I think he's going to stay. I think they're going to give him a little bit longer, to be honest. But I'm saying that with very little confidence. I'm saying that with very little confidence because I think there's definitely a possibility that they could sack him because of all these meetings coming up. But listen, people, thank you so much for watching today's video. Please hit the like button. Of course, subscribe if you're new. And of course, please do go and vote me in the Football Content Awards if you have not already. I've been nominated for Best in Video, Best Club Content Creator, and Best Influencer.